welcome back to Prime Wealth. We're so glad you're here with us today.
Absolutely. Today, we're diving into a topic that's not just interesting, but can also be incredibly valuable for your financial future.
Right. We're talking about royalty income, the kind of money that keeps coming in from things like music, books, and even photos. Imagine getting paid for something you created years ago.
It's a fascinating concept, and it's something that many people, especially those of us over 40, might not think about when planning for financial security.
Exactly. We'll break down how royalty income works, the different types you might consider, and how to start creating your own streams of passive income.
Plus, we'll share some practical tips on finding the right opportunities and avoiding common pitfalls.
That's crucial, and we'll even touch on how to manage and reinvest that income for long-term growth.
So whether you're an aspiring author, musician, or photographer, or just curious about how this works, there's something here for everyone.
Let's jump right in. First, let's explore what royalty income really is and why it's such a powerful tool for building wealth. So Alex, when we talk about royalty income, it might feel a bit niche, right? But I think it's super relevant for people over 40, especially with everything going on in the economy.
Absolutely, Jordan. Many people in that age bracket are starting to think seriously about their retirement timelines, and traditional income sources like pensions are becoming less common. Royalty income can actually provide a significant boost to their financial security.
Yeah, and it's not just about having that extra cash flow, it's about the stability it can offer, especially given the rising cost of living. I mean, inflation has been pretty relentless lately, hasn't it?
Exactly. Just look at the last few years. Prices for everyday goods have skyrocketed, and many people are feeling the pinch. Having royalties can help hedge against that inflation. It's like having a backup plan that keeps on giving, even when the economy is shaky.
Right. And I think there's also an emotional component here. People over 40 are often in a life stage where they're thinking about legacy, how they'll support their family, maybe even their kids or grandkids. Royalty income can be a way to create a lasting financial impact beyond just their own lifetime.
Very true. Take someone like Jennifer, for example. She wrote a book a few years back. At first, she thought it was just a fun project, but now she's receiving continuous royalties. That money not only helps her monthly, but also contributes to her savings for her grandchildren's education. It's a nice feeling to know her creativity is still bringing in income.
That's a great example. It's like her passion turned into something that not only fulfills her, but also helps her family's future. And I think that's something many people can relate to. They might have skills or hobbies that could generate income, even if they don't realize it yet.
Exactly. And there's also the potential for passive income. Once you've created something, whether it's a piece of music, a photograph, or a book, it can keep earning for you over time. This is especially important as people approach retirement, where they might not have the same energy or ability to work as they did in their younger years.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the gig economy. The landscape has changed so much, and there are more opportunities than ever to monetize hobbies or skills. People can create digital products or content that generates royalties without a huge upfront investment.
You're spot on. And it's not just about financial gain. It can also be incredibly fulfilling. Engaging in creative projects can boost mental well-being, especially as we age. It keeps us active and involved in our passions, which can be so important for emotional health.
That's a great point. And considering the statistics, it's clear that many people are underprepared for retirement. A study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that nearly 40% of Americans have less than $10,000 saved for retirement. That's a pretty alarming number.
It really is. So having multiple streams of income, like royalties, can be a game changer. It allows people to diversify their income, which is crucial in this uncertain economy. It also provides a cushion for unexpected expenses, healthcare costs, home repairs, you name it.
Right. And for those who may have faced job loss or reduced hours recently, royalty income could fill the gap. It's about creating resilience in your financial life.
And let's not overlook the fact that this kind of income is often more stable than other forms. Unlike a job where you can be laid off, royalties can provide a steady stream of income as long as there's demand for your creative work.
So it really ties into this idea of building long-term financial security. And for anyone over 40, that's crucial. It's about planning for a future that might be different than what they expected, especially with the unpredictability we see today.
Absolutely. And remember, it's never too late to start. Even if someone hasn't created something yet, it's possible to think about what they could do now. Whether it's starting a blog, taking up photography, or even writing that book they've always thought about, it's all within reach.
And it's never been easier to get started, either. There are platforms for self-publishing, music distribution, and photography sales that make it accessible for everyone.
Exactly. And people can begin to build their portfolios while still working their regular jobs. It's about planting the seeds now for a more secure future.
So it sounds like we're setting the stage for some practical strategies on how to get into royalty income.
Yes, exactly. Let's dive into some concrete steps people can take to start generating that passive income through royalties.
So let's dive into how someone can start generating royalty income. I mean, it sounds great, right? But what's the first step?
Absolutely, it does sound great. The first step really is identifying your strengths and interests. Like, if you have a passion for writing, maybe starting with ebooks or even articles could be a good way to go.
Right, and that's important because if you enjoy what you're creating, it's going to be more sustainable, right?
Exactly. And then, once you've identified your area, the next step is to create something of value. This could mean writing a book, composing music, or taking high-quality photos. You want to ensure that what you create resonates with your target audience.
So, let's say I decide to write a book. What's next?
Well, after you've written it, you'll want to consider how to publish it. You could go the traditional route and find a publisher, but that can be a long process. Self-publishing is also a fantastic option nowadays. Platforms like Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing make it pretty straightforward.
And I imagine that self-publishing means you keep a larger share of the royalties, right?
Exactly. When you self-publish, you typically earn a higher percentage of royalties. For instance, with Kindle, you can earn around 70% on your ebook sales depending on the price you set.
Wow, that's a huge incentive. But let's say I'm not a writer. What about someone who is more into photography?
Great question. For photographers, there are stock photography websites where you can upload your images. Websites like Shutterstock or Adobe Stock allow you to earn royalties when someone downloads your photos. Just ensure that your images are high quality and cater to current trends.
So it's about understanding your market too?
Absolutely. Know what's in demand. You can even check out what types of images are selling well on those platforms.
And what about music? I know there are a lot of independent musicians out there trying to make it work.
Yes, musicians have a few options as well. You can distribute your music through platforms like DistroKid or TuneCore. They help get your music on streaming services like Spotify or Apple Music, and you earn royalties from plays.
So it's not just about making a great song, but also about making sure it gets heard, right?
Exactly. Promotion is key. Use social media, build a fan base, and engage with your audience. The more listeners you have, the more royalties you stand to earn.
I love how this all revolves around leveraging what you love. But what if someone is starting from scratch?
Starting from scratch can be daunting, but it's definitely doable. I'd recommend beginning with online courses to hone your skills. For example, if you want to write, platforms like Coursera or Skillshare have great courses on writing and publishing.
That's a solid point. And what about networking? Does that play a role in this?
Networking is crucial. Connecting with others in your field can open doors. For writers, joining local writers, groups, or online communities can provide support and feedback. For musicians, attending open mics or collaborating with other artists can expand your reach.
And it's often about building relationships, right?
Yes, exactly. It's not just about what you know, but who you know. And genuine connections can lead to unexpected opportunities.
So let's talk about the actual financial aspect. How do you keep track of earnings from these different sources?
Good question. It's important to track your income and expenses accurately. You can use apps like QuickBooks or even simple spreadsheets to keep tabs on what you're earning and spending.
And what about taxes? I imagine that's something to be aware of too.
Definitely. Royalties are taxable income, so it's important to set aside a portion for taxes. Consulting a tax professional who understands your specific income streams can save you headaches down the line.
That's really important advice. Now, in terms of setting realistic expectations, how long does it typically take to start seeing income from royalty sources?
Well, it really varies. Some people might see returns fairly quickly, especially if they already have an audience. For others, it could take months or even years to build up enough sales or streams to make a significant income.
So patience is key, huh?
For sure. It's a long game. But the beauty of royalty income is that, once established, it can provide passive income over time.
That sounds really appealing. And I assume there are some common pitfalls people should be wary of?
Oh, definitely. One major pitfall is underestimating the marketing effort. Many creators think, if I build it, they will come. But that's not always the case. You really need to actively promote your work.
That's a great point. And what about people who might struggle with self-discipline, especially if they're doing this on the side?
That can be a challenge too. Setting specific goals and deadlines can help keep you on track. Treating your creative work like a business can make a huge difference.
And it's about building habits, right? Like dedicating time each week to work on your projects.
Exactly. Consistency is vital. Even if it's just a few hours a week, those small steps add up over time.
So as we shift gears, let's dive deeper into those pitfalls and how to avoid them. So, Alex, when it comes to generating royalty income from things like music, books, and photos, what are some common pitfalls that people fall into?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes I see is underestimating the effort it takes to create a marketable product. Just because you have a great idea or a talent doesn't mean it'll automatically sell, right?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people assume that if they put something out there, it'll find its audience.
Exactly, and that's a dangerous mindset. Take music, for example. Many artists think that uploading a song to a streaming platform will lead to immediate fame and fortune. But the reality is, it often takes a lot of marketing, networking, and sometimes even a bit of luck.
Yeah, I've heard stories of musicians who went viral but then couldn't replicate that success.
Right. It can be a real roller coaster. And then there's the issue of rights and ownership. A common mistake is not understanding the contractual obligations when working with producers or publishers.
That's a huge one. I mean, if you sign away too many rights, you could be missing out on future income without even realizing it.
Exactly. Like, I know of a writer who signed a deal with a publisher thinking they were set for life. But later, they found out the contract gave the publisher exclusive rights to all their works, which severely limited their ability to earn royalties from other sources.
Ouch, that's a tough lesson. What about photographers? I imagine they face similar challenges.
Yes. With photography, there's a common misconception that just because you're posting your photos online, you're automatically protecting your work. Many don't realize they need to be proactive about copyrighting their images.
So they could lose out on income if someone uses their photos without permission?
Exactly. There's also the issue of pricing. A lot of photographers undervalue their work. They might offer low prices just to get clients, but that can devalue the entire market.
Right, and if everyone is underpricing, it just creates a downward spiral for everyone involved.
Yes, and another mistake is not diversifying your income streams. Focusing solely on one form of royalty income can be risky. You might think, I'll just write this book and that'll be my ticket. But what if it doesn't sell?
Oh, that's a real danger. I know some authors who have multiple books or even spin-off products to create a more stable income.
Exactly. Having multiple streams can really cushion you against the unpredictable nature of royalties. And then there's the issue of managing your income properly.
Oh yes, I can see how that could get complicated.
Right? Many people see a big royalty check and think they're set, but they forget about taxes or reinvestment in their craft. Not planning for those expenses can lead to financial stress down the road.
It's almost like a false sense of security, thinking that big check is the end of the road.
Yes, and it's crucial to recognize the signs that your income might not be as stable as it seems. If you're relying solely on one source and it starts to dip, that's a red flag.
So what can someone do if they're already in that situation?
Well, first, Take a step back and assess your portfolio. Are you overly reliant on one income stream? If so, it might be time to explore other avenues, like creating additional works, or even licensing your existing work for different uses.
That's a good point. And I imagine networking can also help in diversifying those income streams.
Absolutely. Engaging with other creatives, joining professional organizations, or even attending workshops can open doors to collaborations or new opportunities that you might not have considered.
And what about marketing? I feel like a lot of people overlook how important that is, regardless of the medium.
You're spot on. Whether you're a musician, author, or photographer, marketing is key. Many people think that once they've created something, their job is done. But it's really just the beginning.
So what are some practical steps people can take to avoid these pitfalls and set themselves up for success?
Well, first, educate yourself on the industry standards related to your craft. Understand the contracts and rights associated with what you're creating.
That's definitely a foundational step.
Then, establish a clear marketing plan. Identify your target audience and figure out how to reach them. Use social media, build an email list, or even consider a website to showcase your work.
And don't forget about networking, right?
Yes, connecting with others can provide invaluable insights and opportunities. Look for local meetups or online forums related to your field.
So it sounds like a mix of education, marketing, and community engagement is really vital.
Exactly. And always keep an eye on your financials. Track your income and expenses diligently, and don't hesitate to consult with a financial advisor if you feel overwhelmed.
That's a great reminder, especially for those who might not have a financial background.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the creative side, but balancing that with practical financial management is essential.
So those are some immediate steps you can take. Now let's bring everything together and look ahead to what's next. So when we talk about royalty income, it can feel a bit overwhelming, right? But there are actually some pretty straightforward steps you can take to get started.
Absolutely, Jordan. It's really about breaking it down into manageable pieces. You don't need to dive into the deep end right away. Just starting small can make a huge difference.
Exactly. So let's talk about immediate actions listeners can take. If someone is interested in music royalties, for instance, they could start by exploring platforms like SoundCloud or Bandcamp.
Yes, those platforms allow independent artists to distribute their music and get paid for streams or downloads. Plus, they can retain control over their content, which is vital.
Right. And they can also look into distributing their music through services like DistroKid or TuneCore, which help get your music on major streaming platforms.
And if someone is into writing, they might consider self-publishing their book through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. It's pretty user-friendly, and they can start earning royalties from day one.
That's a great point. And the beauty of self-publishing is that you can reach a global audience without needing a traditional publisher.
Exactly, and creating an ebook can be a simpler way to start. It requires less overhead than a physical book, and there's a huge market for it.
For those who might not be writers or musicians, there's photography too. Platforms like Shutterstock or Adobe Stock let you upload your photos and earn royalties each time someone licenses them.
Yes, and this can be a fantastic way to monetize a hobby. If you enjoy photography, just start building a portfolio.
And what about habits? What kind of daily or weekly habits can listeners build to keep moving forward?
Well, I'd suggest setting aside time each week to work on your creative projects, whether that's writing, composing, or taking photos. Consistency is key.
Absolutely. Maybe even create a dedicated space for your work, something that inspires you, a little nook where you can focus without distractions.
That's a great idea. And I'd recommend keeping track of your progress. You could use a simple notebook or apps like Trello or Notion to outline your goals and deadlines.
Those tools can be super helpful for staying organized. And let's not forget about networking. Connecting with others in these fields can open doors too.
Definitely. Joining online communities like Facebook groups or forums related to music, writing, or photography can provide support and feedback.
And sometimes, you just need that motivation from others who are on the same journey.
Right. And for those who are just starting out, it's important to remember that not every project will be a hit.
Yes, exactly. It's all about experimenting and learning from what doesn't work, just as much as from what does.
And speaking of learning, there are some great resources out there. For anyone looking to dive deeper into the world of royalties, I recommend checking out books like The Music Business Handbook and Career Guide or Self-Publishing for Dummies.
Those are solid choices. And podcasts can be a great way to absorb information too.
Absolutely. There are plenty of podcasts dedicated to music, writing, and photography. Listening to others' experiences can be enlightening.
And for those who prefer video content, YouTube can be a treasure trove of tutorials and insights.
Right. There's so much out there. And you can really learn about the nuances of each field just by watching and listening.
Now, let's talk about the mindset shift. Transitioning to thinking like a creator rather than just a consumer can be powerful.
Yes, embracing that creator mindset can really help you see opportunities everywhere. Instead of just enjoying music or books, you start to think, how can I create my own?
And with that mindset, you'll likely find more motivation to pursue your interests and create something that could generate income.
Exactly. Plus, every piece you create adds to your portfolio, which is essential for building a brand.
That's a good point. And let's not forget about the importance of setting realistic expectations.
Yes! It's a long game, not a sprint. Building a sustainable income from royalties takes time and persistence.
So, what about when they start to earn some income? What's the next step?
Well, I'd suggest reinvesting some of that income back into their craft. Whether it's better equipment, marketing, or even education, it's all about growth.
That's a smart approach. And keeping track of these earnings is crucial too.
Yes, using a simple spreadsheet or financial software can help them stay organized and plan for taxes later on.
Tax considerations are definitely something to keep in mind.
For sure, and if you start making significant income, consulting with a financial advisor can be beneficial down the line.
That's a good reminder, and even if you're just starting out, having some basic understanding of your finances can make a significant difference.
Right, just being mindful of your budget and expenses can help you make informed decisions about your creative projects.
So those are some immediate steps you can take. Now let's bring everything together. So wow, what an interesting journey through the world of royalty income.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how diverse the sources can be, right? First takeaway, I think, is definitely the idea that royalties can provide a consistent stream of income, especially if you've created something once and it keeps generating revenue over time.
Right. And the second takeaway is the importance of understanding the different types of royalties, like from music, books, and even photos. It opens up a lot of possibilities for folks looking to diversify their income streams.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the potential for passive income. That's a huge draw for many people. Once you've put in the initial effort, those royalties can continue to flow without much ongoing work.
And I love how we talked about the creative side too. It's not only about the money, it's also about expressing yourself and sharing your passions with the world.
Yes, and that can be incredibly fulfilling. Plus, it's a reminder that age doesn't limit your creativity or your ability to generate income. You can start at any point in life.
That's such a powerful message. You know, it's never too late to explore new avenues for financial freedom.
Exactly. So, as you think about these ideas, consider how you might tap into your own skills or passions to create something that could generate royalties for you.
And if you found today's episode helpful, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and share this with someone over 40 who might benefit from this information.
And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. We enjoy hearing from you.
Next time, we'll dive into the vending machine business. A great low-effort setup that could be a fantastic opportunity to explore.
It's going to be interesting to see how that can fit into your financial strategy.
So stay tuned. We can't wait to share more insights with you.
Until then, take care, everyone.
Bye for now.